Hello, I'm Bob the Booker and welcome to my channel. And today I'm reporting to you live from the half hour of sunlight that we are getting in the UK today. It is a miserable day out, and so I'm very aware this video is quite dark, at least kind of light-wise, not thematically. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the books that I am hoping to finish reading by the end of the year. And I do want to say right from the jump here, this is obviously not a race. There's no pressure with this kind of thing. I've seen a few people putting lists of kind of hopefuls of books that they want to read by the end of the year, but obviously there's no magical cutoff where if you happen to read the book in January, you know, something horrible happens. This is just a kind of thing of getting excited about bedding down with some books by the end of the year. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about those, but I hope you are all keeping really well. And again, there is zero pressure that I'm trying to put on myself around this. And I hope that you're not feeling a massive pressure to read towards the end of the year as well, in that sense as well. I've seen sometimes people get a bit funny with thinking particularly about Goodreads numbers, or like kind of target reading numbers, which I always think is really unhelpful, of like, well, I've got to get to 50 by the end of the year. I get if that's important to you for some reason as well, but I find that doesn't help me with my reading. And anyway, on that note, I'm now going to talk about books that I want to read and put pressure on myself. So who am I to talk? Anyway, let's get talking a bit about those books. So first, I should just mention my Booker project is still very much ongoing and is nearing its final stages, which is wild. So for background on this, 5 years ago, I started my channel whilst I just started the project to read all of the books from the Booker Prize shortlists across its history from 1969 till now. And I have thrown various curveballs my own way during that time of distracting myself with newer, shinier things, which I don't regret. That was great, and I'm very glad that I did that. However, in theory, I probably could have finished this a couple of years ago. I'm glad that I made it slower. But I'm now into single digits. I'm now at 9 books left of my Booker project, which is still somewhat surreal to me, because in theory it's about 350 odd books, I think maybe 300, across the history of the Booker Prize. And I'd read maybe 20 when I sort of started my channel. So here we are. And now that's very exciting because I sort of want to get that finished fairly soon because it's in reach, and I kind of want to be able to start 2026 not thinking about the project in some ways, at least having a year where I don't feel as much sort of required reading. So that's the first thing that's on my mind in terms of the reading. Many of the ones I've got left aren't particularly long, which is also fun, but I'm excited to read a couple of those. So, well, to read the last 9 and talk about them. And I will very soon be in the position to finish a few more decades. I've done 2010s and the 2000s. I'm 1 book away from finishing the 70s. And then the other 8 books are spread across the 80s and 90s. So really close to being there. Thank you for sticking with me by this project. But yeah, so that's the first bit of where I am, and luckily then, yeah, they're not very long. They're books that I'm quite excited about. I've tried leaving some that I would be looking forward to. So let's see. Almost there. The next few are ones that are very much more on the books that are there for joy in this whole thing. So one is one that I've banged on about for several years, as being a book that I really want to finish, and I think this will be the year that I do it, because I think I'm gonna bed down with this over winter, after the Booker project, which is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke, complete with the 3 for 2 sticker from Waterstones that it has had since I bought it about 15 years ago. But yeah, it's about 1,000 pages, which I think was the thing that stopped me for so long. But I think this is exactly the season where I want a big cozy book, and particularly one that is sort of in a very different kind of world. You can see the sun damage on it. It's horrendous, actually, just how old this little thing is. But bless it. And on a very, very similar note, I am very excited. I've started reading it. I'm only a tiny bit through. But Philip Pullman's The Rose Field, the 3rd in the Book of Dust trilogy. And I loved the His Dark Materials trilogy. I love the world of it. I've read the little spin-off books. I'm on the 3rd book of the Book of Dust trilogy, and I'm just very, very excited for it. I love this series so much. It's so kind of on a similar note to Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, this is going to be the sort of big book that I tuck into when, you know, as the days are getting shorter and shorter as well. So yeah, really, really excited for this. And then on a very, very different note, alongside it, the new book by Georgi Gospodinov, winner of the International Booker Prize a couple of years ago. And this is Death and the Gardener, and this is a much shorter book, a little novella pretty much, which I'm really, really excited by, because it just sounds quite eerie of somebody who, I mean, it's a lot about long winter mornings, as the blurb suggests, which, you know, that'll be nice and cheery for this time that we're living through, but I'm excited about it. It's sort of a book that seems to deal a lot with history and the past, and this sort of winter garden kind of being a sort of a presence throughout that part of the book. The next two are ones that I am really looking forward to for different reasons as well. And the first being The Book of Records by Madeline Thien. I really enjoyed Do Not Say We Have Nothing, and I've heard really rave reviews of The Book of Records. And it's been one of those books that actually, it's interesting, people who have read it seem to have really fallen head over heels in love with it. It's not really had a great deal of attention, at least that I've seen, prize-wise or anything else. So I'm really excited to get tucked into that. A book that seems to, again, deal a lot with history and kind of interiority in interesting ways. So really, really excited for that. And the very last one, there'll be other books that I'll want to try and read as I go, but this is one that feels a bit more timely, which is On the Calculation of Volume by Solvej Balle. And this is the third volume in that. I really loved the first two. They have been such joys of reading for me this year. And I'm really, really excited to basically read the third one. It's a set of books that are all set with this one character, Tara, who is essentially trapped in the same day constantly. But what does emerge from the book kind of goes really far beyond kind of typical tropes. So at least in the first two books, she starts to realize that she can push against the edges of those limitations. So she can travel and continue through days whilst doing her own thing, and she ends up exploring lots of Europe and doing all of these other things. So I'm really excited to see what happens with the third one, and how she continues to iterate and change around that theme. So yeah, I'm really, really excited for this one. I think that as much as my brain is wanting to really bed down and not think at this point in the year, this feels like a book that I'd be quite excited to spend time in and spend time thinking about as well. So those are some of the possibilities, essentially, for the end of the year for me for reading. There are a few other books that I no doubt will end up reading and that I'm also really excited about. Timing is going to be a big part of this. The Booker project being the bit that I'm just going to round off and finish, and then hopefully go into a nice wintry bit where I just get to sit down and enjoy the coziness of being with some good books. So yeah, I'm excited for that. What books are on your list? What are you wanting to read before the end of the year? Again, there is zero pressure on this. As I found from the Booker project that I've been doing, sometimes that pressure can feel like it takes away some of the value or the joy of some of those books. So I hope that you are at least being kind to yourself with this, that even if you read 2 pages between now and the end of the year, that is fine. If you read 14,000 pages, great, whatever. You know, this is all just about how much you're enjoying these things. So yeah, I hope you are doing really well, and you are reading some lovely books in the next little bit towards the end of the year. Take care and speak to you all soon. Bye-bye.